Hello, me lads and lovelies. Captain Edward von Arkham here, coming to you from on board the MHS Hysteria. I've been tinkering about the lab today with a couple of old prismatic photomanipulation refractors. I believe I am close to developing a prototypical method of disguising my hat through elementary photon manipulation, a convention which would come in all sorts of useful. There are so many errors throughout history when I tend to stand out in a crowd. Most of the time it isn't a bother, but it does get me into trouble from time to time. I can never go back to Nebraska. I suppose it is rather noticeable, isn't it? Because it's bolted to my brain, I can't just take it off. In the old days, I used to hide it beneath an even larger hat. But, to be honest, that only exacerbated the matter. But if I can develop a working cloaking mechanism, I'll be able to give my topsy-turvy topper the facade of an everyday run-of-the-mill top hat. Slightly less magnificent, but a small price to pay for the occasional air of subtlety. Besides, there's nothing unmagnificent about any sort of top hat. Toppers are always in style. What is not to like? Brim, band, bell crown, magnificent. I do prefer a bell crown to a stovepipe. It has quite a showbiz history, the top hat. It started out with a rather calamitous premiere in London, 1797. First worn out in public by a man named John Hetherington. The public didn't much take to it. It caused a riot. Women fainted, children screamed, dogs yelped, and an errand boy's arm was broken by the panicked mob. Drama queens. Hetherington was actually brought to court on the charge of disturbing the peace by wearing what was described as a tall structure having a shining luster calculated to frighten timid people. That still happens to me. An unfortunate first appearance for a rising young star. After that, the top hat spent many years making obscure vogues at fancy dress parties. But in 1814, it caught its big break. It was featured on stage when a French magician named Louis Comte became the first to pull a white rabbit from a top hat. So avant-garde! The trick received rave reviews, as did the hat. Soon enough, everyone was wearing one. The demand for them became so great that there came the need for one of the most practical, if not menacing-looking inventions in the history of haberdashery, the conformateur. Designed for measuring one's head for the purposes of making a custom hat. Also, with a few slight adjustments, very useful for baking purposes. I've got one myself. Well, that's our time for today. I'm off to the galley. I've got a sponge cake in the conformateur. Until next time, stay mad, my duckies. Twice the magnificence!